We are back and better than ever. The Contractors Edge, the podcast that is helping contractors build better businesses. And we have the man, the myth, the legend, Ian Price. He is the fearless leader of Forestry Builder. This man has decades of experience as a master of his craft. He's also a pretty cool dude when it comes to the world of snowboarding. So we'll get into a little bit of all that stuff. So, Ian, my man, how we living? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Things are great. I can't complain. It's cool inside, hot outside today, so I'm enjoying that and just plugging away one thing at a time.
I love it, man. So I actually had a chance to go visit Ian at his office out here in Denver. Amazing team, amazing culture, super cool office, super smart guy in the world of technology, AI, and of course, like you said, a master of his craft. But I kind of want to start in the beginning, right? So when you first got into the construction world, was it cabinets? Was that your first taste, or what was kind of like your first taste of the contracting construction world?
Yeah, so it started late, and it started a long time ago by building a cabin in the middle of the woods when I was in high school to give us a spot. Really, it didn't start as this idea, but me and well, first I found a spot and was like, yeah, I want to build a cabin here. And then some friends joined me. And the goal was just to build a cabin. And then we realized the benefits of having a place where we and all our friends could go and no one's parents had to be out of town to have a party. So it turned into a pretty good party shack out in the middle of the woods. But that was officially my first build.
Oh,
While
epic.
I was doing that, I worked for a good friend of mine, dad, who was a high-end general contractor doing really nice custom builds where I lived in Vermont. It was full of multi-homeowners, third, fourth, fifth homes, and these places were amazing that we were working at. So I was pushing a broom around, putting nail holes, a bunch of nothing, but really starting to see how it was, starting to see how things were done, and working with some of the best around. So that was definitely eye-opening. My cabin was far from that, but it had a roof and it stood, so that was all we needed. Um, and then, yeah, fast forward, about 20 years or so. And then, I started dabbling in some trades, drywall. It didn't take long to figure out that wasn't for me. I did tile for a couple of years and it was a great trade. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of other contractors with different trades. So I could pick their brain about that because I had bought a house that had been in a fire and I had to gut it and rebuild the thing and really didn't have that much of an idea on what I was doing. So I would talk with subs on site and pick their brains and then have them come over after work, once a month and feed them some beers and they walk around and tell me yes, no, no, yes, or whatever. And so that was kind of my real intro on home building. And then from there, I started a custom garage cabinet company that did quite well and that's while I was living in Bend, Oregon. That saw a ton of growth. While I lived there, we went from 30,000 to 100,000 people in just over 10 years. So
Wow.
it was moving fast. But that was like my first introduction to more of actually the business part of it and not just the construction. But it was everything. The shop was in my garage, which we put an addition and turned a 2-car garage into a 4-car garage. And we were doing all of our manufacturing there. We had a van built out so we could load it up, go assemble a set in a day. And we were doing about 3 sets of cabinets a week when we were running at our highest capacity. So that was cool. So then
Wow.
I was fortunate enough to be able to sell that company and move to Denver. When I moved to Denver, I was really, contemplating, do I want to continue with the cabinet thing? Because it was pretty cool. And then I bought my first house here in Denver and got back into the renovation of that, like I had been with the house that had caught on fire. And I just realized how much I liked the problem solving, um, and the troubleshooting and, just having to really think things through thoroughly to get, you know, a good solution that was going to be effective, was going to last. I didn't want to spend time doing something that was going to, you know, fall apart shortly and create more headache for me down the road or anyone else. So it was, I really like the head scratching and the, you know, the having to problem solve the, you know, the house issues or concerns, whether it's structural or just how to run a pipe from here to there without making it look, you know, with getting it to look cohesive and smooth.
Hmm.
So I decided to follow that path of the construction, full home construction. And since then, shoot, I don't even know. We've built uh, probably 10 new builds here in town. And then also, I can't even count how many we've remodeled, but we've got to be upwards around 25 or 30. When I started, it was myself, just myself. And then I hired a guy to help me. And then from there, now we have a team of myself plus 5 others with an office manager, site supervisor, a laborer, a project manager, and a junior project manager. So
Hmm.
it's really grown into something, and it's you know, it's still the same head scratches every day on the best way to perform the task at hand. But now it's trying to get the team to think and use their brains to get through this, so they're not so dependent on me all the time. And trying to build, you know, build them into better builders as well, and
Hmm.
create the systems and the processes to keep us organized so that you know, the structure's there and they can focus on the things that really matter, which in my mind are those puzzles of how do we do this? How do we do this on budget? How do we do this in a way that's going to last possibly generations, which
Hmm.
is really our goal. We really shoot to do custom high-end homes and to build a product that we're happy to turn over and we're not worried about it, you know, the quality of it at all. It's built to last. Coming from the Northeast, from being from Vermont, where, you know, there's houses there that are over 200 years old and still standing and looking amazing. And that's really, you know, when I think of quality, that's what really comes to mind.
Hmm. I mean, hey, well said. Thanks for sharing all that, Ian. I really appreciate it, man. And there's a few things I want to touch on, but first, if you guys are tuning in, you guys want to see what Ian's got going on with Forestry Builders, check out his beautiful website, forestrybuilders.com. I had a chance to really check out, all these different projects that they've done. Incredible work. I mean, for me, I absolutely love the style. So unbelievable work. He's built a great team, everything like that. So, uh, congrats on all that, Ian. And so, it's
Thank
funny
you.
because we talked about the problem solving, the critical thinking skills, right? And it's funny because if you really think about it, you wanted to solve the problem that you wanted to party, right? You wanted to fight for the right to party, right? And you were able to critically think of something, build out a solution. You guys were able to enjoy yourself, right? And I think that is one of the biggest things that I look for people as well, right? And so do you have any advice for contractors out there, right? It feels like you're just rushing from fire to fire in terms of just critical thinking, being solution orientated, growth mindset, right? Because that mindset can really change the game for a lot of people.
Yeah, it really can. It's too, it's very easy, I would say, to get caught in that day-to-day hustle and just running from one fire to the next to put it out.
Yeah.
Um, Rather than devoting some time to build the company better and stronger. That was really what led us to a project management software such as JobTread. Was
Shout out.
just, you know, I had documents in Word, I had Excel spreadsheets, I had PDFs, I have OneNotes, I have sticky notes, I've got handwritten notes, like I've got stuff everywhere. I'm like, this just doesn't work. Like, there's got to be a platform out there where I can store all of these things. And some people that we work with also have access to all of these items as well. So, and that's the biggest thing for building a team is to get these things out of your head. So to build that infrastructure, one, to find an infrastructure or to find something, the system that's going to work for your company and for the way that you work. And that was really important. But then also you can't expect that you're just going to purchase this thing and it's going to solve your problems. It's a lot of work to build these
Mhm.
out, to think through your workflow and how you'd like to have things flow, the client journey, the house build, the marketing, the bookkeeping, all these items,
So
and they
much.
all have flows from beginning to end. And so you need to really take time to think through that process and document it, not just have it in your head. Again, if something is in your head, no one else knows what's going on.
Mhm.
Once you can get these out, then you can start to hand them to people, and all that stuff that keeps you up at nighttime, you're handing that responsibility over to somebody else. And yeah, maybe they can't do it as well as you. Maybe they don't know everything that you're thinking about this. But if you give them the opportunity, they'll get it to that 80% mark. And then together you guys can work on refining it.
Mhm.
So you've cut, 80% of the work out of the job, and you just have to do 20 of everything that was bottled up in your head. And that's just to get it to the finish line. And that 20% that's remaining, there's a good possibility that with some direction, they can get that last 20% on their own.
No,
So
100%.
it's just really being able to give that, hand that over to somebody. So yeah, I know I digressed from our original question
It's
here.
good though. I
So
mean, that's good because I love it because I wouldn't really talk about like technology, processes, systems, delegation, all that kind of stuff, right? Because majority of the contractors that I talk to, it's they're super smart, right? But it's all in their head and they can't really articulate it, right? And for some reason, man, SOPs, processes, all this stuff, like with the fluff and the buzzwords, man, we overcomplicate it so much, right? It is a lot of detail and it is a lot of work, but we want to try to like simplify it as much as possible, right? So when you're looking at just like technology, systems, processes, all this kind of stuff, making stuff, rinse and repeat and being able to scale the business. Do you have any advice for contractors out there? It could be software to use, process type strategies, whatever it might be.
yeah, one that I would that this seems the most simple, but for me personally, and I have a feeling it probably a lot of other contractors out there, is whisper flow. You might not be the fastest typer, you might not be the most accurate, or whisper flow is a dictation AI app that you speak, and even if you misspeak and you go back and correct yourself, it will correct itself. It eliminates a lot of the unnecessary words, as well as it's also doing the punctuation as well as starting new paragraphs and stuff. So you can imagine when you talk to Siri, the text that you get from there, and you spend as much time correcting it as you do with speaking to it. And so in theory, you're not saving any time. Whisper flow eliminates all that.
It's the
And so
first good
now
audio to text. The first one that's
it
actually
really
good. But
is.
continue.
It really is.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so that's where I start, because with that tool, you can then utilize all the other tools so much easier, because now you're not typing. And
Hmm.
whether that's writing an email, which is super, everyone does emails. Whether you're writing an email, I just hit a hotkey on my keyboard, and it either stays on so I don't have to hold anything. Or if I'm just doing quick ones, I just push and hold. You could do it either way, but it makes it so much easier to jump into those things rather than having that drone of like, oh man, now I'm going to type out 2,000 characters and this is going to take me 10 minutes. It's like, no, just spit it out and it gets it. And then maybe you have to refine it a little bit, but it's a lot of the times there's nothing involved. So whisper flow was
Absolutely.
for me, was for my personality, that was a big one. Um, and then, yeah, JobTread is for me personally a huge one, that our business lives on it, thrives on it. It's amazing. And,
Hmm.
and not only the software itself, but the customer service is it's insane. Just today, I wrote them an email, and within 5 minutes, I got a response that was a Loom video, which we'll get to Loom,
Hmm.
but it was a Loom video on this is how to do this to solve your answer your question, solve your problem. And I was like, this is amazing. Thank you. And then I was like, oh wait, I do have one more question. So I write them back in another minute. I've got the response. So it's like, it's so quick. It's not this waiting a day or two to get a response from a tech guy. And then you decide, you can't wait and you spend 6 hours of your day trying to do it. So job trading is
The
huge for
community
us.
too. The community is the best part, I think. New
Yes,
friends, right? New
community,
friends, new
the
learning people,
software.
new people to learn from. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Loom
Mm-hmm.
is a big one for us. And that back to your mention of SOPs, we do still, but we've put together an SOP booklet to try to make resources for people on the team to answer their questions, so that they don't have to spend time researching. They can just go to this source of truth, and hopefully it has the answer for what they're looking to do, because people will say, oh, you can't build a system or a process for what I do because every house is unique. Every job is different. And that sounds true. And I was one of those people for a while, but then you start to break it down. You're like, okay, that is true for the specifics of that house, like how to put this beam up there and whatever. That is true. But the big picture, you need to have
Big picture.
the pre-construction. You need to have that, how to start a job site. How do I get a job site set up so it's already what needs to be on that job site before drywall? What's our punch list on what we have to do here? All of these items. And so those are repeatable. And so Loom has helped a lot from getting those SOPs off of just a paper model and turning them, making a video one. Because nowadays with Insta and TikTok and YouTube, everyone likes to watch. No one
Mm-hmm.
wants to sit there and read, and they'll get bored, and they got short attention spans. So what better way than to make a video with an on-screen example of what it is that you're referencing? So Loom, you can talk to it, you can edit it when you're done if you want, but it will follow your screen. And as you're talking, it will walk people through how to pull a permit with Denver, or how to check
Mm-hmm.
on, this or that. So it's a really great tool, I think, for SOPs, as well as when I do, back to JobTread, when I do have a question for them, sometimes instead of trying to describe it in an email, I'll just shoot a video and say, hey, look, if I go here, this is happening. For my other jobs, if I go here, this is happening. What's going on here? And then again, 2 minutes, they get back to you and you have your question answered. But Loom is a big one. Otter has been good for us, or anything like Otter. I
Mm.
know there's a lot of other great options out there. Otter has worked well for us, for recording all of our Zoom meetings
Need one of those.
to, on sites. You need something that can record meetings, get you transcriptions, and then that way, there is a location for all of these things to live in, so that you could use an LLM or something to be able to scrape all that information out, to be able to get the finishes or whatever questions you're looking to have answered that are in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That all needs to be centrally located. And it goes back to having the data all in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And then having it accessible so that, it can be scraped and the information can be retrieved out of it. So Otter is a great one for us as well. I would say that, and then we use Office 365. So,
Mm-hmm.
SharePoint, OneDrive, having something like that, Google Drive, whatever it is. And then I think nowadays it goes without saying, but Claude is huge for us. All of those other ones are really great and they do their specific things, but then team those up with Claude, and it's amazing. Actually, as I'm talking to you right now, our junior project manager, who we brought on to relieve our project manager from having to do a lot of the PO creation, change order creation,
DU
bid
DU
requests.
graduate, right? DU graduate.
Do you graduate? Yep, from here in Denver.
Yep.
He graduated, yeah, just a little over a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
2 months ago, sorry. But yeah, today's his first time trying this. When you and I met with our team a couple of weeks ago to just walk them through workflows with JobTread, that was a lot of our team's first experience
Mm-hmm.
with Claude, other than our office manager. Abby, our office manager, has been crushing it with Claude every day. It's like, we have another person that she's talking to and they're putting awesome stuff together. But our junior project manager just today is now starting to create skills on how to put together POs with JobTread, how to
I could
create
see him
change orders
getting
with
good at that
JobTread.
too. He could get good at that too, I bet.
100%. Yeah. And then how to send out bid requests using Claude for JobTread. So, and then once these things are created, yeah, do they take a couple hours to create a good one? Yeah, they sometimes do,
Mhm.
but they save you so many more hours down the road.
And it
If
makes
you
you
think of
think
a good
about your
PO,
process in like more detail. Like you're still putting energy in the right place. So even if you don't get exactly where you want or it takes a while, like, you know what I mean? You're still evolving, right? You're still growing, just going through that process. You know what I mean? So,
exactly. And they say, one of the best ways to learn something really well yourself is to describe to somebody else how to do it,
mhm.
how to teach somebody else how to do it. And essentially, that's what you're doing is teaching Claude this skill. So again, you're getting the stuff out of your head, you're putting it somewhere where everyone else has access to it. And that's really a big key for us is just trying to get all of these items out of everyone's head, get them into that cloud or central, storage repository type space and have an LLM access, have access to that so that everyone can, reference
Mhm.
all of those items. So, hey, I wasn't there at that on-site meeting with so and so, but I know you recorded it with Job or through Otter. So I know if I go to Claude, Claude can go to that meeting and pretend like it was there and tell me
Yeah.
every piece of that, what happened there, as well as, give me a nice an outline on everything that was referenced during that meeting.
Bro, you got my brain spinning right now. You make me think of all these different ideas
I like
that
it.
I want to be doing
I
now.
like it.
So I appreciate that. So I'm just ready I got a bunch of notes. I always like to kind of branch off some of the things that you're saying here. But basically, I want to go over a few things here because basically, if you can dominate these areas, these different tools, right? It doesn't really matter the brand name, right? Other than like Claude, JobTread, right? But like the recorders and some of the other tools, right? As long as you're using tools like this and you're using them right, you can basically, give a customer experience that's like a big company, right? Like you can compete with the big wigs, right? Because you're so professional, you're so spot on, so rinse and repeat. So it can make a big deal, right? So I had a few ideas I wanted to pull off of there though. First one was we're talking about SOPs, right? Using, Loom videos or whatever it might be to record your screen, show what you're doing, teach. Basically I said some ideas here. Like we use a tool called Descript, right? So I have Descript connected to our Claude. So it's just like Loom, right? You can record your screen, all that kind of stuff. But with Claude now you can record a skill, right? So I could like record a skill of me going into, JobTread and using my video tool to make an SOP, right? And then I could have that as a skill where Claude could literally go in there, do it, right? Add in some, AI voice that describes everything, right? And you're done. You can get pretty crazy with this stuff. Same thing with like the video call, right? So if you are making sure that you're recording all your calls, right? You can have I've Fathom, right? I think Otter's connect to into your Claude as well, right? You could say, hey, I got my job track connected to, go into this meeting, right? Build out a summary, add it to our job so everybody has it, whatever it is, right? Like there's so many capabilities that you can do there. It's crazy. So I do want to branch off into like how you're specifically using Claude with JobTread. Is there anything you want to share, or any kind of advice, or any kind of cool things that you've liked that you got a chance to do?
Yeah. So creating a couple fun skills. I say they're fun because they save us a bunch of time.
Mm-hmm.
I used this one today actually is a ballpark quote skill. So I've gone into our catalog, I've created a couple ballpark cost line items, such as structural demolition, interior demolition, new framing or remodel framing. Um, and with those, oh, and then there's a pop top square footage. So if we're adding a second story to a house, that has a square footage or price associated to it. The ones that I mentioned previously have everything has a square footage price associated to it. So whether it's the structural interior demo, the new framing, the remodel framing, the pop top, garage, basement build out. Those are the main items. So the ballpark skill can go through a set of plans, grab those cost line items with the prices that are in there, the descriptions in there as to what each line item is. Then it puts together this cost in the JobTread budget. Once the budget's created, then it opens up the ballpark quote document. It imports that budget into the document. It goes and looks through. And when I start the skill, I'm either telling it the dimensions, but a lot of the times I like to give it a set of plans so I don't even have to take the time to walk it through how many square feet of this or that. If I do that, it's just more room for me to mess up. So I like to give it the plans. It goes through the plans. And if it has a good rendering in there or even an elevation view that it can turn into a nice rendering, it either takes that. If it can't find anything in the plans that it feels like would make a good header for the document, which is pretty wide and narrow. So it has to kind of fit a specific, some specific, dimensions there. But if it can't find anything in the plans that it thinks will work, then it goes into Google Maps and it just takes a street view of the property as it is right now, just to personalize it and give it that touch. Then, so now it's got
Crazy stuff.
it's got the header at the top with an image. Then it's got a description of what the ballpark price is and what we're trying to achieve with a ballpark price. Then it has the budget. Then below that, it gives them the scope on what it is that this budget is for. And then it gives it a range. Depending on the size of the job, the range fluctuates a little bit. So, on a smaller job, it might go this much of a range or, a bigger range, whereas on a larger job, it goes a little bit smaller of a range. Otherwise, the range gets really big. So we've modified that. Then it also creates the email. So when you hit the send button on the ballpark quote, it's already rewritten the email to the clients, including the scope. And hey, if there's any questions or anything that I could do to help clarify this, or you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I just have to make sure everything's in there correctly. It looks right. My numbers look about right. Again, it's a ballpark price or quote, so it's not spot on. So there is some wiggle room there. And then I just hit send. That's a cool one. That one saves a lot of time. Like, you think of how many tire kickers are out there.
Just think about what you just described, though, like how many layers there was of that, right? And I think, someone asked me the difference between like automation and AI, and I get a decent answer, but like that's really it. Just like the depth and the customization of these workflows, right? Like it is absolutely insane, right? And really, it's whatever your mind can kind of conceive, right? That the Claude can achieve, basically, right? So that's a workflow, basically, you kind of thought out, right? And so that's just not normal, but we can do that now, right? Like we can do that now. Like, this week, it's basically, I don't have a bookkeeper for Better Boss. I've never had. Claude is literally going into our QuickBooks, set up all of our chart of accounts, right? It's making sure that every single transaction is reconciled, all this kind of stuff, right? Like it is absolutely insane. And while I'm doing that, my other computer is taking the last podcast episodes, right? Making sure they're uploaded and then adding a website or a page on our website. And it's posting that, it's getting the audio, it's SEO optimizing it. It's, building the images for the featured image. And then that's happening at the same time while I'm doing something else. It's crazy. So I want to ask you some stuff, then we'll go into like skills, because I think that's kind of a big topic there. But when you look at that ballpark, I liked your ballpark estimate format that you did. So obviously you went into the depth of your process, but when you're looking at like the cost group, when you're looking at like figuring out like how the heck do you figure out square foot rates and stuff like that, do you have any advice there? Because I do like how you simplified that whole cost group, right? Because it's a ballpark, right? And so I think this could help people. And then also, has this helped you make more money because you're able to get these out so fast?
Yeah, getting those ballpark quotes out, that was something that, I got to do this when I get home. And then you get home and, it's right time for dinner, or, your daughter wants to play or whatever. You're like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow morning. And that just starts that, kick the can down the road kind of cycle. And then, a week later, you're like, oh, shoot, I really have to get this out. I told them they'd have this by now. So it really helps from that procrastination. So now it's as simple as opening the skill, dropping in the set of plans. Maybe Claude has another question or two for you to answer, and then it's ready to send. All you do is go into JobTread, review it, send, done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about 5 minutes of my time.
But
What
you
used to
break
be,
it up.
it could have been 3 hours.
You break it up, it's like 7 line items total, right? And they all have a rate.
Yeah.
Right. So you really like think about how big these estimates can get. Right. So you basically just have one section is each one line item, and each one of those has its own square foot rate. Right. Like, that's the best
Correct.
approach, right?
I feel like it is. Again, it's a ballpark price. It's
Mhm.
not, we're just trying to let them know what we estimate this is going to fall in. We're not saying this is, your final price.
Yep.
So yes, for us, we've gone and looked at historic, square footage prices for projects that we've completed. And that's how we establish those.
Yeah.
And then also, so now in JobTread, I have this ballpark quote. It's sitting at the top of my budget. And so as I'm putting together the actual quote, say we get to that part where we're actually pricing this job out for a client, and I'm putting together the actual
Mhm.
number, I'm always comparing that to this ballpark quote. So I have the ballpark quote visible at the top. And then I have, at the bottom, what our actual estimate is. So I'm always kind of keeping those in mind, just be like, oh, do I need to adjust that ballpark quote? Is it too high? Is it too low for this? But they haven't really evolved that much, just because, going off of historical data, that's what got us to where we are with those square foot numbers. But generalizing that definitely was a big time saver for us, as far as just being able to provide a ballpark or somewhat accurate idea of what the
Mhm.
job's going to cost.
And time is money, right? So if you're able to get it out quicker, right? Chances of you closing that deal definitely increase, right? 100%.
Yeah, it's the time, but it's also just looking like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm not sure, as opposed to, yeah, give me 5 minutes and I'll get you, a good ballpark quote that not only has the numbers, it has
That's
the
impressive.
details, it has, it has the image and whatever. It's got a lot of
Yeah.
info in there.
Oh yeah, 100%. You definitely blow the
But yeah,
prospect away. You know what I mean? It's just all about goes
yeah,
back to that experience. Hey, do you mind sharing? So I built that prompt Bible, right? So you took that, right? Now you have a scheduled task, right? In Claude, can you kind of share a little
yeah.
about that? Because I was loving it when you told me about that.
Yeah, well, you have your prompt Bible.
Yeah.
So to make that even a little bit easier, because your prompt Bible, I have to copy and paste it into Claude. So I downloaded the prompt Bible, uploaded it into Claude, and told it to turn it into a push button operation. So I just open up a skill that is the prompt Bible, and it has all of the different options, but there's no copying or pasting. So it's got the prompt Bible in there, but then I picked out some of those that I thought would be good for the team. So we are doing one where it's from your prompt Bible, where it goes through all the daily logs, and it's summarizing daily logs as well as our schedule, as well as it's everything. It's all the proposals that have gone out, it's invoices that are due. And so it's scraping all of this information for those, 4 or 5 different options. And then it's putting together an email. So it's a daily briefing that goes out to the team every morning at 6 o'clock. So as soon as they click on to JobTread, there it is.
I love that, dude.
And so
Thanks for using that.
That one's awesome.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, no, thanks for making it.
Yeah.
The team loved it. As soon as they got it, they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. Another great one that you created with us was scraping
Oh yeah, this is cool.
scraping all the selection information
How many
out
selections?
of either.
How many selections?
I don't. There was hundreds in there.
Yeah,
I want to say there was like 400.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it scraped the spreadsheet and took all the selections. It then got screenshots of what each selection is, whether it's a color swab, swatch or a plumbing fixture or a fan or whatever it is. And then it put that into the selections of JobTread organized by room.
Mm-hmm.
So now we could go into the selection. It was a spreadsheet that lived on someone's Google Drive. And now it's all in JobTread with pictures and it's categorized by room and it's all right there at the tip of your fingers. So it's so convenient for everyone. And I just used it the other day and I think it worked even better. It didn't send us all the emails this time. So I
Almost
didn't
blew
get
up
a call. I
JobTread.
was waiting for
I
a
almost
call.
blew up JobTread,
Yeah,
man. I was automating too fast.
so there's no phone calls this time.
I just send it,
But
man. You can't help it. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, risk it for the biscuit. Let's see if we can make it happen, baby. But no, that's awesome. Just
yeah,
think about that.
and
When
it
you've had
worked.
a spreadsheet, right? If you're your customer filled that out, right? They were super involved. And imagine if you give this spreadsheet to you guys, and all of a sudden, like that, you're able to create the selection sheet, right? Of all the images organized, all the information, right? Organized by area, and it looks really nice. And you're able to just kind of like present it and get it just like a more like it goes back to experience, right? It's just impressive, and now they can kind of visually see what's going on.
Yeah, and not just that, but it makes it like because it used to be a Google Drive sheet that lived in someone's Google Drive, but if we shared it with a vendor, they might not have access to the sheet, so then they have to request access. Now it all lives in JobTread,
Mm-hmm.
and JobTread's accessible to all of our vendors and all of our internal team, everyone, so
Mm-hmm.
it makes things more accessible by doing that.
So, man, I have a little bit more questions. This has been amazing, man. All right. And so thank you for everything here. And remember, everybody, if anybody checks us out, we still have a few more questions here, but foreststreetbuilders.com, you can check out what Ian's been up to. We'll have to talk about the snowboard at least a little bit, right? And then I always leave the guests with, hey, whatever they want to end the viewers with, right? It could be wisdom, it could be advice, it could be a book you're reading. I don't care what it is, all right? But first, we got to talk about skills, all right? So can you kind of tell us a little bit about what like skills are in Claude, right? And kind of the benefits of kind of be able to scale with that approach or get the same experience or output each time?
Yeah, so skill is essentially what it says. It's a task or yeah, it's doing something. So like I told you, there's the ballpark quote skill,
Mm-hmm.
and the skill was
It's like a process
we opened the
almost.
skill.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, a process. And so you give it the directions of everything that you need done. A lot of people get scared there. They're like, oh my God, I don't know how to tell it what I'm going to do. You don't have to nail it on the first time.
Mm-mm.
A lot of the skills, you run it once, you're like, oh, it didn't do this right. And you can even be talking to it. Like I'll use whisper flow. I'm analyzing what it shot out. I'm using whisper flow and I'm like, oh no, it didn't do this right. It didn't, and you're talking about what it did or didn't do right.
Yep.
Um, so then Claude will update the skill and you save the updated skill. So, but the skill is producing something that you do, that you want to offload, such
Mm-hmm.
as putting together a ballpark quote. Well, we have one where we have it writing executive summaries for our construction contract, our proposal that goes to the client, where it goes through the plans and it in a certain type of language that the client can, read easily, and it gets them enthusiastic about the project. It explains the scope of the project. It then puts that into the proposal, saves the proposal in a folder where we can grab it and put it in when we're putting the proposal together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a series of steps that you're laying out and detailing in a way where as you run it a couple times and you like this, you don't do like this, you can get it to do something exactly how you would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can schedule skills to run like the daily briefing I was telling you about. That runs every morning at 6 o'clock. Every day we're open.
Mm-hmm.
You can schedule the skills, or you can just run it when you have something that needs to be done that you've made a skill for.
Yep. And so
And it's super easy to find on Claude. You just forward slash and it
super
drops
easy.
it opens the box of all the skills. You select that one and you're off to the races.
So great explanation, right? And it all comes back to prompting, right? So I've been prompting for like 4 years plus, right? I mean, all-nighters, right? Like I knew this was the thing, right? And so I've had repetition after repetition. So now it's kind of like it's like riding a bike, right? I don't even like think about it, right? And so AI is not magic beans, right? I still had to put in a bunch of hard work to like get there. And so did Ian, right? And so it's one of those things where it's still not magic beans. You still have to be foundationally sound. You still have to understand process, right? And building out like an actual operating system. And then you have to practice prompting, right? And so I actually just pulled up something. So here's just like quick 4 tips, right? So you want to lead with the outcome. So what do you want the output to be? What do you want to walk away with, right? So make sure you set the stage, right? So what job, what client, what's the goal? The more context you can give it, the better. Make sure that you're calling out the format. So is it a spreadsheet? Is it Google Doc? Is it like an HTML website file, right? Is it an email, right? Use stuff like calling out connectors, right? So any tools that you have connected, make sure you're calling that out. And then if you have any examples, put that in there. But this is like for a skill. For me, it's like all days where I crush it. I'm just on fire. And then I'll have another day where I'm not getting anything for output, but usually it's on me. I'm just not smart. Maybe I'm a little foggy that day. Maybe I'm a little tired that day, whatever it is. So when I have a good day, right, and that chat hits, right, and I know I'm going to do that again, that task, just say, hey, save this as a skill when you're done, right? And now every time you just backslash it, right, give it to it, and then just give it a good prompt still, right, give it the context it needs, and you're going to get that exact same output. So now all of a sudden, people are always like, how do you make a process with AI? And it was the hardest thing ever, really, till skills came out, right? Because always you got to teach every single individual. Now it simplifies enough that anybody can do it. But pretty cool, man. So
Yeah, 100%. No, that's a great explanation.
So I wanted to go about the snowboarding stuff, and then if there's any kind of relation, just kind of your life and business and stuff. You're kind of a big shot, hey? So tell me about snowboarding. Is that why you went from Vermont to Bend to Denver because you like mountains? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so a little bit. Yeah, but so go back to when I was building the cabin. I grew up in I grew up in the town where Burton and snowboards really took off and started to grow. Is a little town in southern Vermont called Manchester, and it was about 3,000 people. Um, it was an awesome spot to be. It was the right spot at the right time as far as snowboarding was involved. But I was starting to compete in snowboard competitions in 8th grade and then all the way through high school. And by the time I graduated high school, I had won 7 amateur national titles. And I'd also gotten into UVM, been accepted to UVM for engineering, the engineering program. And my mom, one time, I was just in there casually. We were talking nighttime in her room, and she said, "Well, you're obviously good at this." I was starting to do some pro events and get in the top 15 at those when they would come to the area. In Vermont, we had some cool pro events, so around New England. So I was starting to do those. She's like, "Okay, you're obviously good at this. I'll make you a deal. I'll pay for your first year on the pro tour, or I'll pay you for your college education." And a lot of people would be like, "Oh man, a college education, that's such a big deal." But when I was 18 years old and with the amount of time and effort and resources and, just my idea of what I really wanted to do, it was all about snowboarding at that time. So I took her up on that. That summer,
Why
I went
not,
to Mount
baby?
Hood and started training.
Why not,
Yeah,
baby?
there we
Send
go.
it, baby.
Why
Why
not?
not?
So I went out to Oregon to Mount Hood for my first time in the summer of 95. And was it 95? Yeah, 95. And then did my first camp with the pro team that I joined. And came out to Colorado that November. We used to go to Breckenridge every year for the November because that was the first place to start blowing snow. And they had a lot of training, other teams up there that were training from all over the world. So that was kind of the spot to be. So, that was like kind of my introduction to Colorado as well. I'd been here one time prior to that. But, so I went to Oregon and Colorado that first year and then start the pro tour and, pro tour went well. I was the rookie of the year for the pro tour that year. And then to top it all off, there was a big international event, a World Cup at Stratton, Vermont, called the U.S. Open. A lot of people like know the U.S. Open from golf and other sports. So the U.S. Open of snowboarding was at a resort 15 minutes from my house, and nothing like competing near home. And I won that last race of the year. And then after that, Burton, who I'd been snowboarding for, they stepped up and they offered me a contract, and they paid, for my travel to go around the world on the World Cup for pretty much the next 8 years. So it was really, really
Wow.
cool. I think my mom made out well. She didn't pay for all the years of college education. And I got to travel the world and go to all these great resorts and snowboard with friends and meet new friends and meet new contacts, and just kind of really get to take things in while we're traveling around the world. We would go to Japan for a couple weeks. We'd be in South America for a couple weeks. We'd be in Europe for about 3 months. And then
That's
in North
crazy.
America, we'd travel around for 2 months or so. So it was really cool. But then fast forward to 2002, that was the year I decided, okay, this is gonna be my last year doing this. I won the US and the Japanese national titles, and I was like, okay, let's go out on a decent note. So that was it for the competition. And then you're left with this, okay, what now? I didn't pursue college, so I don't have all of that background.
Your identity's gone.
I started Yeah, your
Yeah.
identity is gone, and, everything that you've known for 8 years. And, like, before that, I had been in high school. It wasn't like I was building a career in high school. So you're like, "Okay, now I gotta get started." So, it was, there's a lot to kind of ponder and figure out. But, yeah, I was fortunate enough to have some, hobbies and things that I really like to do, and, turn those into a full-time job.
Unbelievable, man. Sounds pretty sick,
Yeah, it was a
dude.
lot of fun.
Sounds pretty sick. So when we close this on, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Do you got any words of wisdom, advice, any closing notes for other contractors out there?
Yeah, I started to go into it a little bit ago, and I'll make this pretty quick because we're here at the end. But it's like it's so hard to get caught up. It's so easy to get caught up in the firefighting and putting out, all the different issues. But you need to set aside some time, and the best way to do this is block schedule it on your calendar from this time to this time. These days, nothing's interrupting me. Like I take my phone, turn it upside down, the ringer's off. It can't distract me, and I can knock out some things that I've been working on to work on the business instead of in the business. And just, you need to dedicate that time. So that's how you build if you wait till you have free time, you're never going to have free time. You need to
Hmm.
make it yourself. So I think that is one of the biggest, most important things that you need to learn how to do. And also, you can't be messing off during that time. It's not like it's free time that you can do whatever you want. It's like,
Hmm.
you have things you have to get done. And that's when you work on the processes and the systems, and you create the schedules and the documents and the templates and all those types of things to make everyone's life better and easier as you're moving forward.
Absolutely, my man. Hey, everybody. Ian Price, has been an absolute pleasure.
Ah,
Make sure if you guys want to check them out, you can go to forestrybuilders.com. Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. You've done amazing things. You've had amazing stories. Thanks for sharing the wisdom. Everybody out there, remember, better starts now, but you got to start now. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your other favorite contractor buddies. We'll see you next time. Boom.
thank you.